Right. Right. Onegaishimasu. There we go. And head up and down, please. Up and down. And head side to side. And ear to shoulders. Half circles. Down. And half circles up. And full circles. One direction, other direction. Oh, arms forward. And going back. Shomen. Your comment. Hey, sides. Waves. Hands up. Forward. Down. Hey, knees. Circles. Away. And the other way. Down. Up. Down. Up. Sides. Direction. The direction. One direction. Other direction. Again, one direction. And the other one. Top of your toes. Down. Down. Up. Down. Right. Breathing in. Out. In. Out. One more. In. Out. And your hips outside. One. The sides. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And knee raises. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Leg raises. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hands rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And coming up and down. Front and back. Open, close. Sides. Down. Open your legs, lowering your hips. And knees forward, knees back, knees forward, knees back, knees forward, knees back. To one side, jumping to the other side. Again, one side and the other side. And hips up. Hips down again. Hips up. Hips down. Hips up. And spine up. Shoulders, head, and circles. And the other side. Forward. And side to side. Lowering one side. Lowering the other side. And toes up. And the other side. Hands in front. Change. One more time. Hands in front. Change. Oh. Side. The legs, elbows. Going forward. Back stretch. Forward again. Hips up. Hips down. Hips up. Down. Up. Down. And back. Hey, moving forward. Back. Forward. Back. Forward. back, forward, and back. Opening one side, opening the other side. One side, the other side, one side, the other side. Right side. Okay, hands down on your knees and shoot one leg forward. So just one single leg, sorry, single on your knees and one leg in front. The same side, the same hand that is on the side of that leg goes up and goes down, goes up, goes down, goes up, down, goes up, down. Okay, to the other side, leg, same side, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. One more, up, down, and back stretch. All right, lying down on your back. Okay. Yeah, this is good. So a series of core exercises that are part of our conditioning program, which will be online available in the next couple of weeks, more or less, I think. That we're working with James Valentine, but a few of the core exercises that are part of the program, some of them we're very familiar with. Most of them we're very familiar with, but they are integrated with a whole bunch of other exercises that are important for our Aikido mobility and conditioning. Anyway, so let's do some of the basic core exercises. So the first one is going to be the dead bug. And an interesting observation in this case, and that's why it's good to have a professional like James guiding on this. There are several, as with many things, there are several schools of thought about how to do exercise, how to move your body. So one school of thought points the element of having, when you lie down on your back, having your lower back in a natural position, as in it has a natural curvature. So there's a natural gap between your lower back and the floor. So to maintain that natural gap and then engage core muscles while maintaining that natural gap and then performing the exercise. Another school, which is more like possibly the one that James is instructing, because he mentions that in his video, is that to intentionally close that gap, flatten your back and close that gap, arguing that automatically engages the core muscles and then raising your legs. So I guess that even just that is an interesting exploration of how your core muscles engage, better or worse, and the implications of it. But let's just feel that for a second. So if you lie on your back like that, and you have the natural curvature of your back. So don't exaggerate it. That's the important thing. Do not exaggerate, the curvature. Just leave it as a natural curvature. You have a gap in between the floor and your lower back. Let's say that you don't close the gap. So imagine that you breathe in and you engage your core muscles and then you raise your legs. So just have that feeling for a moment and see how it feels. And from that position, you will perform the exercise, the dead bug. Just put them down, relax a little bit. Okay, so now let's say that you flatten your back, okay, against the floor. That creates something in your core muscles, because I can feel it. And then you raise your legs. And then you perform the exercise, and put them down. So anyway, so I think that those are two, it's a little detail that depending who is teaching the exercise may or may not emphasize that element. I've heard pro arguments about having a natural curvature of your back, and I have heard pro arguments about flattening the back to the floor. In this case, let's practice flattening the back to the floor, engaging core muscles, raising your legs, raising your hands, and opposite sides dead bugs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and rest. All right. So now this time we're going to do the same thing. We're going to close our lower back, but if possible, if you cannot do the next exercise, just continue with your knees up. But if you can do it, try. Otherwise, just go back to your knees. You're going to close everything, and now you're going to raise your legs and hands. So it's the full leg up, hands up. Okay, and same thing, opposite sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and relax. Okay, so this time come up, your knees. Okay, so what we're going to do is to go back and create what's called a hollow body and just hold isometrically that tension for 20 seconds. All right, so ready, set, and go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Rest. Turn around on your knee, on your hands, knees. Okay, so now we're going to perform what's called bird dog. So opposite hand, opposite leg. You're just going to hold and extend. Okay, so just opposite sides and legs holding. Okay. Actually, bird dog is very similar in action as dead dog. So let's do this other one, which is not similar. It's a little bit more for another targeting another part of the core muscle. So you're going to sit down, your knees bent, your arm 90 degrees of you. Basically, you're going to raise into what is called a side plank on your knees, but your hand is going to perform this exercise of going through the gap and up into the ceiling. Okay, so make sure that you have a good support on your shoulder. That is, that your elbow is under your shoulder, that your elbow is not away from your shoulder. Okay, your elbow must be under your shoulder to have a good support in there. Bend your knees, okay, nice and together. Okay, and we're going to raise and we start to perform our arm going up and down. Okay, so ready, set, and raise. And up and go down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And change the other side. Same thing, good position, elbow on the shoulder, bending your knees, okay, and raising up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, and left. All right. Let's do it one more time. Okay, so that same sequence. Dead box with the knees, dead box with the legs, hollow body, and side planks with asanas. Okay, so again, fitness up. Lower your lower back, close the gap between your lower back and the floor. Raise your legs, hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If you can, straighten your legs and continue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 20. And up and ready, extend body. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Down. The side of your body, bends knees, and raising up. Up was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Change side. 8. And goes up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And down. So, okay, good. Again, those are a bit of a few exercises that are part of the program. The program contains mobility exercises and then a couple of supersets that include lower level, core, upper level exercises. So yes, we've been just refining a few things and we'll be hopefully ready pretty soon. Okay, Ushiro Ukemi into shin box position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And on your knees, all the way up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Standing up, please. Left foot in front. Una kogi. Hey, hands in front. So. E, ho, 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 e, ho. Volutama. Hey, right foot in front. Hey. E, sa, 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 e, sa. So, Hey. All right, so this month we've been reviewing, as you know, some of the elements that are part of the technique, as Manuel Sensei describes it. A couple of weeks ago, we spoke about kusuji, and basically kusuji means to break the balance of your partner. That usually happens mechanically by a couple of elements, either displacing the spine of the partner in any direction, or by uprooting the hip of the partner from a grounding position. So, there are several ways in terms of timing and in terms of position that should help to do that. But again, Kuzushi is essential because it has to displace the spine and has to uproot the hips. Possibly the two counter sides of Kuzushi are one, which was the topic of last week, which is Shisei, which is your posture. Again, we're talking about at the moment just mechanical things. These things have psychological and emotional implications, but just leaving them just with the mechanical, Shisei is your posture, which has a couple of the dimensions or a couple of planes. The frontal plane is the alignment of your navel with your nose, and then ideally with anything else that you're using. For example, your hand. So when you perform, a Soto Tenkan, the idea is to keep your hand in front of you. You use for an Uchi Tenkan, the idea is to keep your hand in front of you. Okay, so nose, hand, navel is very important. You need to be careful that one thing that is very quickly to shoot, to the sides is the eyes. For example, if your eyes shoot, your head will follow. And if your head follows, sometimes that creates a breaking of that alignment. So now your head has followed. So now your nose is pointing in a different direction to your hand and to your navel. So that's why, maybe when we get more advanced on these things can break. But in the beginning, your eyes, your nose, your hands, your navel have to remain more or less aligned in that frontal plane. Okay, from a horizontal plane, is basically the alignment of your hips, your shoulders, and your ears. Okay, that needs to remain as much as in alignment as possible. So now we were talking about the horizontal alignment, especially. There are again 3 things that help you to maintain that alignment. The first one is fixing the pelvic area of your body. And again, if you visualize your pelvis like a ball, and then on top of that ball, there is a bottle, which will be your spine. Depending where you roll the ball, one direction or another, the bottle will kind of tilt one way or another, right? So, if you move your pelvic one side, or the other side, one side, or the other side, that starts to have impact on the bottle, which is your spine, okay? And somewhere, you have to find a place where the bottle is, as straight, not tilting as possible. So that depends a lot on these different people, because different people have different lordosis, or different curvature of their own spine. So that's a chronic, all of us have a different lordosis in that sense. So we just have to study where in that tilting, my spine feels more at rest and in harmony with my hips. So that's number 1. Number 2 was the idea that, your shoulder, your scapula, your back shoulder muscles have to pull back. And sometimes we have to be careful that's different from my arms, from my elbows, even from my shoulders. If I use my shoulders back, but then I use my lower back, my upper back pulling back, then I'm not really fixing anything. In the conditioning exercise program that we have, sometimes there are single hand rows or double hand rows. And that's a common correction that happens in any rowing exercise, that the muscles that have to be activated have to be the back muscles, not only the arm muscles. That's because the shoulders can go back, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the back goes back. Okay, so your pelvic area tilts in order to find stability. Your scapula pulls back in order for your back muscles to pull back into position. And last, your eyes, have to remain at a certain level, because if your eyes tilt a lot, sometimes your head tilts and then everything goes. That's why when you work with computers, the idea is to have your monitor at a certain level. Otherwise, you end up with a headache at the end. Huh? So your pelvis, your scapula, your eyes, if we work on those things, that fixes the posture. Now, it's very tiring to all the time fix those things. That's why the better abdominal muscles you have, the more those things are naturally in place. The weaker are where abdominal muscles are, the more constantly we will be losing those elements, and have to remember again and do them, and we'll lose them and do them. So we have to be reminding them. But if your abdominal muscles are in a good condition, that will keep your pelvic, your back in a reasonable condition. Anyway, so that's Shisei a little bit. So you need to remain and practice that. And the one that we're practicing now is going to be Kamae, or stance. Okay, So the Aikido stance is called hanmi, as we know. So one foot goes forward, one foot goes back. Okay. Now this is where the difference starts with sensei. Put your 70% of your weight on your front leg, 30% on the back leg. Okay. So inside, 70% front leg, 30% back leg. Okay. Again, remember at the end of the day, with our legs, we can only have three conditions. One where our body weight is on the back foot. Another one where the body weight is equally distributed, and another one where the body weight is on the front foot. And you can play with the percentages of the body weight back or the body weight forward, but really those are the only three options. Back weight, equal weight, front weight. Okay. So out of those three options, the one we practice is having more on the front foot. Okay. So again, the side, keeping. Now, there are many reasons why it's in principle it's a good idea. There are distance reasons that helps us to remember at the end of the day that the body is a limited entity. So whatever we do with our body by its very construction is going to be limited in its benefits. There is no like a perfect silver bullet where nothing happens. Anything has a trade-off because of the limitation of the body. So I'm sure there are many not good things about having the weight on the front foot, but overall we think that the good things bypass the not so good things that are with having the weight on the front foot. So there's an element of energy and intention moving forward. There's an element of readiness. There's an element of capacity to transfer weight easier. There's an element of gaining space if necessary without movement, and so on. So weight forward, 70-30, to the side. Weight forward, 70-30, side, so forward, 70-30, one more, weight forward, 70-30. Now, the difficult thing sometimes is not so much to start with that idea, but is to maintain that, especially through movement. So, especially if we go, for example, backwards, I have to go backwards, but try to maintain that distribution. If I go backwards, usually the body will shift the weight going backwards. So, let's go first forward, okay? And then go backwards. So 70-30, if we go forward, should be reasonably straightforward. 70-30, if we go forward, should be reasonably straightforward. 70-30, forward, 70-30. Now let's go backwards. Back, and again, have an effort of keeping it 70-30, back, 70-30, back, 70-30, one more time, back, 70-30. Okay? So that happens with the basic moving backwards and forwards. Now, the same thing will happen, for example, with the pivot. Forward, 70-30, I pivot, now it's 70-30. I pivot, now it's 70-30, I pivot, now it's 70-30, one more, I pivot, it's 70-30. So that will happen with the pivot. Now with the turn, 70-30, I turn, and again, 70-30, right? So that's the important thing. Change foot, okay, and 70-30, turn, 70-30. Again, because the turn will usually suck our energy back, and then we'll put us on the back foot. Okay, so front forward, back, turn, 70-30, change foot, turn, 70-30, turn, change, turn, 70-30, change, 70-30. Okay, so that's those are the basic set of movements. And how important it is to maintain that. There is one time when we perform this action of stepping back and then absorbing, right? So in the tension form. The interesting thing with the tension form is because Sensei uses his hips, it's almost like at that point the hips come together, but somehow the energy is still more forward rather than backwards. So even if the feet come reasonably together, okay, for tension, for absorbing, your energy is still going forward rather than getting pulled backwards. So if we practice tension, okay, remember tension is stepping back, but not just stepping back. Now it's also absorbing with your hips, okay? So absorbing, and your weight still forward. Step back, absorb, weight forward. Step back, absorb, weight forward. Step back, absorb, forward. Step back, absorb. Okay. Step back, absorb, one more, the back, absorb. All right, so that's the first idea of the Kamae. First of all, that one foot goes forward, one foot goes back. Okay. Second, your hips are square towards your pana that you're facing forward, not completely sideways, okay, not completely, otherwise, it's also square. And then that your weight is 70-30, in that position. Now, the other thing that Sensei, there's a, thing that Sensei reminds us about is the position of your hands, okay? Some styles of Aikido start with their Kamae outside, somehow the hands outside. Well, Sensei is hands down. Okay, hands down. Okay, change foot, my hands down, hands down. Change and hands down by the size of your body, hands down. Ready, but by the size of your body. Ready, active, awake, but by the size of your body. Change, hands down. And from that position is where then our different entries will begin. Off with Shomenuchi, or enter with Yokomenuchi, or even from your heart, or any breathing techniques. But in principle, the basic position is hands down. From there, hands will go up or hands will go out, okay? But they start from down here, okay? So your Kamae, one foot in front, one back, your weight distribution, forward, backwards, the position of your hands, active, awake, but sideways, sideways. And from there, whatever action is now. So that's the first important thing of your Kamae. The second thing is going to sound a little bit funny, but it's equally important, which is to maintain your Kamae as much as possible through the process of training. The second doshu used to say, beginning hanmi, move to hanmi, and finishing hanmi. Beginning hanmi, move to hanmi, and finishing hanmi. So sometimes I call that up in training to remain aligned, okay? Because it's very common that sometimes in the process, especially Asuke, for example, I will throw Yokomenuchi, and my partner will turn, and my body will just not align. My body just kind of stucks or something like that. We have to throw Yokomen, for example, and continue the alignment. Start continuing your Kamae. Ideally respecting the things that we mentioned before. One foot in front, one back, weight distribution. One foot in front, one back, weight distribution. So again, the idea will be not only to have that initial position, but to maintain that initial position as possible in a dynamic situation. Okay, so let's try to do those two things, just stepping and turning in two directions. Okay, so 1, 2. Okay, so it's going to be very simple. Go back to your handy. And remember to have your weight distribution as top, okay? So 1, 2, weight distribution. 1, 2, weight distribution. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right? Now let's try to do the same thing in 4 directions. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we're kind of changing into those things, trying to maintain continued alignment, continue the weight distribution. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Over time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So that's kind of a little bit that little exercise. The question that we have to ask ourselves is how many times in that basic exercise without any other externality affecting my body, how many times my body went backwards? How many times I was recovering from a backwards position into a forward position? How much? Almost, it doesn't have to be that exaggerated, but it would be how many times the feeling of that, back into that, feeling of that, back into that happened, because that means my back weight, the weight going backwards is winning too much. So the weight has to maintain forward and forward. So you are able to have good shisei, okay, a good initial Kamae, and to maintain that Kamae through motion, we are doing our job. And then it is the job of our partner, as Nage or Asuke, to create kuzushi on us, to basically destroy our shisei and basically destroy our kamae. And then we have to do things to try that thing not get destroyed. So at the end of the day, in very simple terms, that's a little bit the most basic game of the practice. All right. I maintain my shisei and my kamae through motion. My partner, through a variety of methods, tries to compromise my shisei and my kamae through practice. And the tension of that is basically what creates a realistic practice or not. If one of these two fail, then the practice gets compromised enormously by what is happening. So, okay, so try to study those three things in your practice. Yeah, your posture, your stance, and how do you compromise your partner's posture and stance while you are doing your techniques. Okay, let's finish up. Great. Hey, arigato gozaimashita. Thank you.